Hello there, and welcome to The Meaningful Stitch. This is episode 56, and I am Amy Palko, and I'm coming to you from Edinburgh, Scotland. And this is where I like to share my knitting practice and my knitting projects, of which there are many, many, many to share with you today. I have decided I'm going to call this episode The Big Catch Up. I've spent quite a long time writing up my notes before coming on to record today, and they are extensive, so we'll see how we go. But before we start on all of that, let me just tell you that the notes for everything, if you're looking for anything that I've referenced in today's podcast episode, then you can look in the description box. And if you click through into my Patreon, you'll find a page which includes photographs and things and a little bit extra information. So that's free to access for anybody that wants it. So the link for that will also be in the description box below. I always like to draw a card at the beginning of my episodes, and so today is no different. I have a new deck, a new to me deck. I was on the Hay House website on Black Friday, not remembering it was Black Friday, and was shocked to discover that they had a site-wide 50% discount on all of their decks, and so I couldn't resist picking up this one here, which is Sharon Blackie's The Rooted Woman deck. I've had my eye on this for a little while. She is a wonderful writer. She's written Foxfire Wolfskin, and she's written If Women Rose Rooted. She's got a book out called Haggitude. She is a wonderful writer, and this is her. I think this is the only deck that she's produced so far, but it's a really lovely one. So I drew a card from that deck to share with you today, and it's this card here, the Threshold. The Threshold card ushers in the beginning of something, representing a frontier between what's gone before and what waits for us in the future. When we stand on the threshold, we apprentice ourselves to possibility. The moment when you step onto the threshold isn't always a comfortable one. You'll be leaving behind the ground you know, and you're about to take a significant step into the unknown. Nothing on the other side is familiar to you yet. It's the point of maximum pressure. Do you have the courage and the resilience to step into unknown territory? The Threshold card is reminiscent of the traditional monastic practice of statio, a term which is often used for the intermediate stages during a pilgrimage. Statio is an intentional pause. The individual is about to enter a sacred place, but pauses first at the door to shed any burdens, worries, or other distractions which might get in the way of being truly present to the divine. This card then invites you to pause on the threshold, to take a deep breath, to contemplate this moment between moments, and then make the leap of faith which will bring you safely to the other side. So perhaps we are on this threshold moment because this is a pretty epic journey through the last few months. As I've said before, there was a little bit of a gap between my episodes, which was not an intentional pause, but yes, it's just been an incredibly busy time over here, and yeah, it's just everything's taken up a lot of my time, and I've not had a lot of time to podcast. One of the other issues that I find with podcasting at this time of year in particular is our lack of light. So our hours of daylight are quite short. Obviously, those who are further north than Edinburgh are experiencing even shorter days at the moment, and some are not experiencing daylight at all. But yes, our days are shorter than they would normally be, and so I find it quite hard to try and fit in recording of a podcast when it depends so much on trying to get the best light possible, so that you can see the lovely colours and the fibres and all the things that I'm talking about. So yes, I'm hoping that I've still left myself enough time to record today, but we might be in a moment of gathering dark later on, but we'll see how quickly I get through all of this. But yes, the threshold has also been on my mind actually, because I am in the process of pulling together the 2025 My Word Goddess readings. Now, these are readings that I do every year. This is the 14th year that I have offered them. One of the joys of offering something like this over many years is that so many people return to them year after year because they've made them a part of their annual tradition. So as we all stand on the threshold of this year into the next, I'm so blessed that I get to connect so many people with their goddess guides that will accompany them across that threshold and into the new year. These readings are also designed to help you choose a word for the year, because I quite often find that having that point of focus, that North Star, something I can return to throughout the year, something which is a bit broader and a bit more spacious perhaps than a New Year's resolution as such, really gives me a new perspective, something to keep returning to myself as I guide myself through the coming months. So the My Word Goddess readings are now available. I will put a link again down in the description box below. The readings will be sent out from the 14th of December. They are sent out first come, first serve. I launched them on the 1st of December and I have had a lot of orders so far, so I'll be working my way through those first. But once I have caught up with my list, no one should have to wait longer than a week to receive their readings. That's always my aim. And then the readings will no longer be available from the end of January, and so they're only available for those first months, the last month of the year and the first month of the next year. And yes, if you would like to purchase any additional readings, I have a little discount available there too, to kind of support you in your generosity. So that's where my head's at with the threshold, but also I'm aware that we are on, like I said, the threshold of sharing lots and lots and lots of knitting. So maybe we'll just make a start on that now. So I'll start with what I'm wearing, and this is actually a finished object, and I'll maybe see if I can get a photograph of it so you can see it in its fullness, because if I stand up just now, then the camera's going to topple over and then it's a disaster. So, but yes, this is Andrea Mowry's Weekender. It came out quite a few years ago now, and it has many, 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 many projects. I have knitted mine using Gilpin's Lalland DK, which is the most like butter soft. It's just delightful lamb's wool. It's in a marl. This is a very dark navy with an ecru, and that colourway is called Swift. It is incredibly soft. It is actually warmer than I expected it to be. It really kind of serves the purpose of having like an elevated sweatshirt, I suppose, because it is this incredibly beautiful yarn, and but it kind of has this sort of sweatshirt feel about it. Couple of modifications that I made. I had real difficulties at the start of this, and I think I've shared this before, and I will just hold up because I can't stand up. Move my tea over so I don't spill it. I really struggled with trying to get the center seam lined up with this rib stitch here, and I did it again, and I felt like I was following the pattern, and eventually I just kind of had to fudge it. And so I'm happy that I did faff around with that a bit until I got it the way I wanted. I did go on and have a look at other people's projects afterwards, and certainly it does look like a lot of people have their centre seam starting with a purl column rather than the knit column in the rib, in the 1x1 rib. And so I was obviously not the only one that was a bit confused by that, or maybe that is part of the design. But when I looked at Andrea Mowry's pictures, her photos, I certainly thought that her centre stitch was lined up with the knit column. But who knows? Anyway, I am happy with what I ended up with. A lot of people were warning me about the lack of short rows that kind of created this very kind of straight sort of across the throat boat neck. However, when I got to that point, actually I discovered there were short rows, and so I don't know, maybe the pattern has been updated to include those short rows to adjust the design. But I'm actually really happy with how the neck turned out. I love this kind of rib detail, which I think Andrea Mowry has used in quite a few of her other jumpers, most recently her Rhinebeck painted. Is it the painted jumper, the painted sweater? I think uses a very similar neck. But I'm really pleased with how that turned out. I find this is very flattering. This kind of neck shaping. And the other modification I did was slightly more drastic, and that was I knitted my sleeves inside out. So in the original pattern, the sleeves are picked up and knitted straight down in the round stockinette, and I preferred the look of kind of the consistency of the sleeves with the body. I wanted the sleeves to have the same stitch as the body, so this reverse stocking stitch. So basically what I did was I picked up my stitches to the right way around, so to ensure that my seam is on the wrong side and isn't an exposed one. And then I flipped the whole thing inside out and knitted my sleeves inside out. And so that's given me the same texture, the same stitch as the body. So I'm really pleased with that. It has quite a lot, as you can see, quite a lot of ease to it, but I'm so pleased with how it worked out. Like I said, I'll try and pop a photograph in. I'm not even sure if I've taken a photograph of me in this jumper yet. Maybe I'll have to do that before I edit and share this video. But yes, just so that you can see it a little bit better, that would be best, I think. But I'm really pleased with it. I have been wearing it quite a lot. I took it with me on our trip up to Pitlochry, something which I shared a little bit about in one of my mini episodes when I was tracking my progress with the mystery knit along. More on that very, very shortly. But yes, I took that up with me and I wore it almost all the time, and I've been wearing it a couple more times since. So it's not too heavyweight, but it is lovely and cosy and a beautiful layering piece, I think, for this time of year. Okay, are we ready for the FOs? Because this was an FO. I decided to add it into the what am I wearing section to try and reduce the FO section slightly. But yes, I think I'm going to start with the shawls. Yes, shawls, multiple. The first one is the Mystery Knit Along by Stephen West from this year, which was called Go Dynamo. Now, you may have seen that I was posting mini episodes and I was drawing a card and I was showing my progress, and I was really enjoying doing that. And we did the first 3, and that weekend the fourth clue came out on the Thursday. I had cast off by the Sunday, and when I woke up and while I was knitting, I had a little bit of a tickle. You know, when you get that tickle in your throat and you're like, oh no, so you kind of boost your vitamin C in the hopes that you might manage to fend it off. But on Monday morning I woke up and I had no voice, and really over the course of that week my voice didn't really return properly. It certainly wouldn't have lasted for an episode, even a mini episode, and I was coughing a lot, and nobody really wants to hear you coughing on a podcast, do they? So I decided, okay, didn't happen this week, I will record it next week, because that weekend was our weekend for going to Glasgow, and we were celebrating both my husband's birthday, my birthday, and our anniversary. I'll share more about that at the end in the What's Been Bringing Me Joy section. But that meant I couldn't record over the weekend. Fortunately, I was well enough to go, and my cough had cleared up, so I wasn't going to cough all the way through the weekend. So I was feeling much better by that point, but then wasn't around to record. Monday rolled around, and the council sent road workers to our little street. Our little street's normally very quiet and pretty sheltered from noise. I'm very lucky but to be living in the city and to live in a relatively quiet location. But yes, they brought their pneumatic drills, and they basically drilled for like the next, well, certainly all that week. Even on the Saturday, because I was hoping that I could have recorded on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, we had to drive down to Manchester to take some of my daughter's possessions down to her, because she's got a new job down in Manchester, and she'd found a new flat, and we needed to help her get all of her things down. So we did that on the Sunday. And we came back from that. The pneumatic drills were still going, and then I got sick again. So it has just been one of these things where there's just been like one thing after another, after another, after another. And some of them have been lovely, lovely things, because it was such a beautiful thing to see my daughter in her new home, seeing her thriving after what has been a really difficult year. And it's been a very challenging year for all three of my children. And it's very hard to watch your children move through their difficulties. When they're little, you can just kind of pick them up and, kiss their grazed knees and pop a wee plaster on. But yeah, the wee plaster doesn't quite cover some of the difficulties that they encounter as adults. So having to kind of stand back to a certain extent and allow them to step into their adulthood and be able to make choices and lean into their own resilience, and then knowing when you need to step in and provide additional support. And I would say this year has been a year of a lot of additional support, which has made it harder to show up in various different ways, both publicly, through doing a podcast or socially, but I certainly feel as though my knitting has had a lot of time on it, because there has been some more stress, and I find knitting is one of the ways in which helps me to manage my stress. Oh dear, my voice is already going, so I'm going to take a slurp of my tea and stop filling you in on all of this stuff and actually share the finished shawl. So like I said, I actually finished it the Sunday after the fourth clue came out, but I actually only blocked it this week. So that gives you an idea of the craziness of everything that's been going on. But here is the finished shawl. Now, I have knitted this in, oh gosh, it's one of those very deep ones, so here we go. I have knitted this in Ginger Twist Studio Sheepish sock, which is their BFL nylon base. I love BFL, Blueface Leicester. And I've knitted it in the colourway Lalland and Poison Apple. And I added in a little bit of a mohair dare, which I've got a little bundle of yarn here, which I was hoping, where is it? Ah, there it is. So there, that was the colour of my mohair dare. And that was how much of the Poison Apple I had left. And this is how much I had of the Lalland left. Oh. So I still had quite a lot of yarn left over, which is fine, because, I'll maybe knit myself a pair of fingerless mitts or something like that to go with it. Here we go. But yes, I did have plenty yarn left. Stephen did give us an alternative edging that we could add on to use up some more of our yarn. But actually, I really liked this edging. And actually, I blocked it out just by popping one of my blocking wires through the tips, through the middle stitch. Not the middle, yeah, the middle stitch, but at the edge of before the I-cord. And then pinned it out just to kind of exaggerate the scallops. They kind of look, I think they kind of look like dragon scales. I really like them. And I know a lot of people were really kind of struggling with those edging, with that particular clue. But I used my double pointed needles, and then I wasn't kind of wrangling with a longer cable, and it just made it a lot simpler and easier, I think. The final clue, which of course I didn't get to talk about, was this gorgeous one here where we picked up all our stitches from our initial cast on and knitted the semicircle moving in the ways to kind of create this gorgeous, very graphic, almost Art Deco mosaic. Oh, it's not mosaic, it's a slip stitch detail, and then these gorgeous little mini baubles which just look incredible. Now that it's all blocked, I'm really happy with it. It's a good size. I don't really feel as though it needed any kind of additional border on it. I mean, and you know I like a big shawl, but this doesn't really feel like it's really needing that. So I was happy to finish it where I finished it, particularly seeing as it kind of it was pretty much complete before November brought kind of a pause in the podcasting, certainly, but yeah, so there we go. That's the Go Dynamo by Stephen West. It was run as an MCAL, which is the mystery knit along, a new clue coming out each week. I've really enjoyed participating in this. It was really joyful for me, and yeah, I think I'm really happy with the effect. So yeah, gorgeous. Right, one FO down, or technically 2 FOs down. I don't know how many to go. We'll get there though, my loves. You can always watch this in bite-sized chunks if it's too much. Okay, the next one I want to show you now, I've already shown you this, but this is the first sample of what I was thinking would be a new design. I've called it the Glisk. Basically, this is a design that combines crochet, really simple crochet, so the kind of crochet you would do for a granny square, but as a granny triangle, and some garter stitch. Now, I was so pleased with this, and I really loved knitting it. This is in the gorgeous IO layer yarn in their Gia base, which is a 50% merino, 50% silk base in their colourway Sea Glass, which was brought out as a special for the Woolly Good Gathering, because Solveig, who's the curatrix behind IO Layer, is also one of the organisers of the Woolly Good Gathering. So as part of their crowdfunder, they offered some skeins of yarn, and this was 2 skeins that I got from them. However, my issue with bringing this out as a design was that I ended up with 1.5 grams left. Now, that's not great for a design, because if anybody else is going to try and knit it, if they don't have the exact gauge that you have got, then they might end up not having enough yarn to complete the project. And that's something I'm always very conscious of in the designs that I've brought out so far, is that, you know, anybody who begins it will have enough yarn to complete it. So I knew at that point that I was going to have to knit a second. So I have now finished the second, and this is actually, again, I finished this a while ago, and it got off the blocking mats yesterday. So if nothing else, recording today has really galvanized me to actually get on and block some projects that have been sitting for a while. So this is the second sample of the Glisk. Now, Glisk is Scots for glint or glimmer, and I really liked that word, because it has such open work because of the crochet granny stitch, and it just kind of, I thought, lets a lot of light through. So this is the Glisk, and again you can see that this is a combination of the granny square stitch, or the granny stitch, and garter. Now, I would now say that I am a crocheter. I can crochet, and I wouldn't have said that last year. However, I am first and foremost a knitter, and my expertise, I would say, really lies with the practice of knitting. So this is very much a shawl that has simple crochet and slightly more technical knitting, because the knitting is having to work harder to integrate the crochet stitches. So I've had to be, while it looks quite simple, I've had to be quite creative in some of the ways in which I have integrated the crochet and the knitting to try and make it as simple and as easy and as enjoyable a project as possible. I didn't want you having to trying to jam your crochet hook through some densely knitted garter stitches. That doesn't sound fun at all. I wanted it to be kind of a much smoother making experience. So, and the other thing I wanted to make sure was that, if people are perhaps more skilled, more accomplished knitters, but are unsure of crochet, or who have never crocheted before, or perhaps have only ever crocheted perhaps a granny square, then you would be able to create this shawl. So yes, for that reason, the crochet is super simple, and yeah, the knitting, you can see here, is a little bit more complex. So some of the techniques that we're doing are things like creating eyelets. There's a Vickle braid involved. There's picking up stitches. There's an I-cord edging. There's so there's a variety of techniques going on here. There's also short rows down here at the bottom, and yeah, an Icelandic bind off. So there are a variety of different techniques involved in creating this, but yeah, I think it's a really fun knit. I do actually have quite extensive notes written up for it as I went, because having knitted one already, I did actually make some adjustments to create a slightly more fluid, I suppose, knitting experience. So one of the things that I did was here, I had me casting off all of these stitches here, and then having to pick them all up again here. So there was a lot of casting off, a lot of picking up stitches, and in this one, instead, I introduced the Vickle braid here. And so by doing the Vickle braid, which was a technique actually that I learnt from the Hwef, which is up here somewhere. The Hwef wrap by Karen Cronje. And actually this yarn here is actually dyed by Karen. She is the creatrix behind Miss Lamotte Yarns. This is in Twist Sock, or Sock Twist. It's 100% merino. Karen is based in South Africa, and my mum actually brought this yarn back for me from her trip there earlier this year. This colour, I should also say, is called Tin Roof. I just love the variegation in it. I think it's absolutely stunning. So yeah, so that's the Glisk. I have no idea when it will come out. Currently, the pattern still just lives in a notebook. I need to get some time, maybe in the new year, to type it up, and then I will need to get it sent off to a tech editor, because I have never written a crochet component in any of my patterns, and I will need somebody who is a tech editor in both knitting and crochet to be able to go over that and make sure that I have articulated and expressed the pattern instructions as clearly as possible. So there we go, that's the Glisk. So we've got those two. I'm very worried about this light. I think it's I don't think it's even 2 o'clock, and I'm losing it already. So so yes, I'm just going to fold this up as well, and then I'm going to show you one more shawl, which is another one of my designs, and it's a shawl that I had been working on for quite a while. You might remember, now where is this? You might remember this. This is the Birl. And I, again, have written this all up, and it didn't come out as a pattern, but maybe it will in the springtime. It's a cowl with an abundance of fringe. I just think it's fabulous. I just really, really, really love this. Again, I think I'm going to have to find a tech editor and perhaps somebody to help me with some grading, because I would really love to offer this in a couple of different sizes. So I might need a little bit of assistance with that, but again, that'll be a 2025 job. But to accompany that, I decided that I wanted to do this is, my hair's all gone. I should say too, this is Ginger Twist Studio Sweet Flax, which is their baby alpaca, linen and silk blend. It's a 4-ply, 400 meters to 100 grams. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. It just feels completely yummy. And that was in the colour Gorblimely. This is the same yarn base in the colourway Lallybroch. So you've already seen the Lallybroch in the, there you go, in the Sheepish sock. Oh, there it is. There's a Lallybroch in the Sheepish sock. That's the Lallybroch in the Sweet Flax. So you can see that the Sheepish sock really picks up a more concentrated dye job, and the and the Sweet Flax, because of the silk and the linen, the plant material in particular, is much more resistant to the dye, and so you end up with a slightly more muted expression of the colourway. So that's how much yarn I have left over, and this is the shawl itself. I'll try to show you. There we go, that's better. So it's got all of these beautiful eyelets that are coming off, and then at the bottom here we have a row of fringe. So my idea is that this would be almost like more of an evening shawl, or maybe more of a summer shawl. So maybe I'll hold off bringing it out until a bit later on. But I wanted to get some photographs taken while this first layer of fringe was the only fringe here, because I want to use up this the majority of this second skein, adding additional fringe, so it'll have more of this kind of effect. But like I said, I want to get the photograph so you can see, you know, like what does it look like with just that single layer of fringe at the border. And then kind of really making the fringe a much more significant feature by adding it perhaps to these rows here. So that's the Birl. The Birl is named after, well, the name Birl means to spin. We quite often would use it to describe going for a dance. You want to go for a Birl, you want to go for a dance. And the reason why I've called it that is because this is the dancing shawl. It was inspired by my grandma's shawl, which I now have. It's this one here, which has got the long fringe, you can see, and it's got lots of beautiful, oh, you can't really see, lots of beautiful eyelets. And it also has this kind of, like a variation on this centre eyelet spine. And this is the shawl that my grandma made for herself to go out dancing in. So that's really like a tribute to my lovely grandma. So there we go. That's the Birl. Again, these were all patterns that I had hoped to bring out at some point over 2024, and the way my year has gone, that's just not been feasible. So at a certain point, you just have to go, okay, this is just the way things are, and yeah, we're just gonna have to roll with it. But I did knit one more accessory, so that was all the shawls, but I did also knit a Shimmer shrug from Shrug Season by Jackie Rose. This is knitted using 2 9-note bundles from Pearl Soho, and mine is in this sort of cooler pink is called Dragon Fruit, and the warmer pink is called Begonia. So this was knitted using two of those sets. I was very lucky in that Pearl Soho sent this to me, arranged by Jackie, so I would be able to knit it as a sample and to be able to share it and show it. And I feel very, very fortunate to have been able to work with this yarn because it is incredibly soft. Knitting the gradient is so fun because actually looking at the two yarns, the two shades together that are closest to one another, you can't really see too much of a difference. But after a wee while, you start to really notice that you are moving from light to dark. This was a very enjoyable knit. It is 1x1 rib. I've worn this a lot. I took this also on my trip up to Pitlochry. We went back in October. So you can wear it kind of like as a cowl like this, and it fits very nicely underneath my coat, or you can also just pull it down a little bit like this if you just need a little bit of an extra hug. I've been doing a lot of writing in preparation for the My Word Goddess readings, and I've also been doing a lot of writing for my astrology course, so that's meant I've been sitting on the computer. And so having something like this just kind of makes sure, and because you've got it coming up the back of your neck, and you can really just make yourself super cozy, and it feels like as I sit and write, I'm getting a bit of a hug at the same time. So I really appreciate that. Like I said, the yarn is completely divine. It is so incredibly soft. I just highly, if you can get your hands on some, then I would recommend it. They have actually brought out the 9-note yarn as single skeins. So, and their palette is just exquisite. And I think they've also brought out a new gradient pack as well, which from what I can remember was a lovely shade of green. So yeah, just Pearl Soho just do such incredible yarns anyway. And this is such a lovely pattern. This is the second shrug I think that I've knitted from the shrug season, because I knitted another one over the summer. So now I've got a lovely summer one, and now I've got this one as well. So yeah, that's my shimmer shrug. Oh, and I should say too is that this ended up with a lot of leftovers. Maybe I should tell you something about the yarn management as well, because if you're working with 2 gradient sets of 9 skeins, 18 skeins of yarn is a lot to manage. However, I used my little IKEA bags. I've got like quite small IKEA bags, freezer bags. And I put both of the skein ones into one bag and wrote using a Sharpie 1 on the front, and then my skein 2s went into another bag, skein 3s, etc. And each were labelled. So, and I kept them in there as I was moving through all of the gradient, and that just kind of made sure that I wasn't mixing up any of the yarn. And that was particularly important because I was passing on all of my leftovers to Claire, who is on the side on Instagram, who's also a wonderful designer. She designed the Argyle berry that I shared in my last podcast. So I passed all of my yarn on to Claire, so it's now Claire's yarn. And she got her colours done, I think in Linlithgow, also through House of Colour, which is the same company that I got mine done through in Madison, Wisconsin. And she found out she was an autumn, and I found out that I was, that Melissa told me that I was a winter. Melissa Jenkins is who I saw in Wisconsin, Madison. And she was wonderful. So yes, she told me I was a winter. So I've focused my shrug on the winter pink, and Claire is going to have hers in the autumn pink, in this gorgeous begonia shade. So hers is going to have these broader stripes of the begonia and the thinner stripes of the dragon fruit. And then I think we're going to see what we've got left after that and divide it between the pair of us. So maybe we'll be able to knit like a wee accessory, like a little hat to go with it, or maybe a pair of fingerless mitts. But that's the plan there. So that's now with Claire, and she'll get to that when she's ready. There was in the pattern, Jackie recommends doing a jogless join. I didn't actually do a jogless join. I just spliced my yarn, because this yarn was actually very good and very easy to splice. And I don't think it actually shows up too significantly, that there's not too much of a jog there at all. So I was really pleased with how that worked out. Okay, so that's all my accessories. We're at 40 minutes. Okay, so the next one I'm going to show you is the jumper that I knitted for my birthday. Now, I was approached by Claudia Quintanilla of oh my goodness, I've forgotten the name of her shop, Unit and Craft. I think it's in Toronto. She got in touch with me and said, would I be interested in knitting a design from her new book, and they would send me the book when it was published. So then they sent me a lot of different images, so I could choose which jumper I wanted to, or which project I wanted to knit. And then they sent me the PDF for that project. So I chose the Granada. Now let me find the Granada so you can see it. This is the Granada. So it was only when I got the PDF though that I realised that the sleeves, I should have shown that before I closed it again, but anyway. The sleeves and the neck are actually crochet, and the body is knit. And like I said, you know, I'm relatively new to crochet, and so I was slightly concerned that I wasn't going to be up to the crochet. However, I was going to give it a go, and I cast it on, and I'm going to show it to you now, and you're going to realise that actually the crochet literally didn't make the cut. So this is what I've ended up with. This is my Granada, and it's heavily modified. Here we go. Looks a little bit wrinkled just now. I have used this cone, which is an alpaca silk lace weight that I picked up. I think I got it for like £15 or something from a yarn festival that I attended years and years ago. It doesn't have a brand on it or anything, so oh, that's not true. It says Atkinson Dyeing Company Limited. So I have no idea who they are, but this is alpaca silk, and it's yeah, there's a lot of yarn on that cone. So I used that along with Drops Kid Silk in the colourway Heather. So you hold both of those yarns together to knit the body, and that was, for me, that was a straightforward bit. When I got to the hem, however, it recommended an I-cord bind off, but yeah, I wasn't that keen on that. I tend to find when I add an I-cord bind off, then the whole thing starts to flare out. And I didn't really want that for this. And in fact, there were already a few increases down the side of the body, which I thought was quite unusual, because normally you would have decreases, you know, for a bit of waist shaping, but this was going in the other direction. So with that, plus the I cord, I really didn't want this to flare out just at the point of my hips, which are my widest point. So yes, I decided not to do that. But that was the only kind of modification that I made to the knitted part of the body. And then I picked up for the sleeves, and please believe me that I really did give this a really good go. And in fact, I've kept some of my attempts. These aren't all of the attempts. Oh, there's some of the attempts at the sleeve. And I ended up having to actually cut it off, because I don't know if you've ever tried to unravel knitted mohair, but I have discovered that unraveling crochet mohair is a whole other thing. And also, maybe it's because of the drops kid silk, you know, it is on the more affordable side of things. Maybe the silk core isn't quite as strong as perhaps some other brands might be, but I found that even when I did start to try and unravel it, the mohair would snap. So whenever I got to a point where I realized that actually it wasn't working, I had to cut the mohair, I had to cut the crochet off. So you can see perhaps that you can see my bobbles there. Actually, have I got that inside out? No, I don't. My bobbles were not as pronounced as they are in the pattern, which I didn't really understand why. But my main issue was that, and I have, to be fair, I have not got a lot of experience in reading crochet patterns. And so, which is why, as I said, when I bring out, if I bring out the Glisk, I will absolutely be calling on, and I will be seeking out support to make sure that I do it as well as I possibly can. Important to know your limitations. That said, I tried this 5 times, I think, and I could not pick up the right number of stitches, and I ended up with just this massive sleeve. Now, I think the first time I did it, I think it was like 34. Yeah, like it ended up like 34 inches, which is ridiculous. And I know they were supposed to be like balloon shaped sleeves. You know, they're supposed to be volume. That's the big sort of statement piece about them. But I could just not get this to work, and it just and I tried again and again and again, and ultimately started to run out of yarn. So at that point, I had to kind of make a decision. Am I going to persist with this, or am I going to just knit it, improvise some knitted sleeves, and actually have my birthday jumper for my birthday? So that's what I ultimately went for. And so I picked up the sleeves. I used a 6mm. Did I use a 6mm needle or a 5? I certainly used a much larger needle for the sleeves than I did for the body, because I kind of wanted to create a difference in the, do you see that? This is much denser and this is much more light and airy. And I knitted it and then did big decreases at the end, and then a long rib cuff. And then for the neckline, and again, instead of picking up and doing the crochet, which didn't really feel like it made any point considering that I hadn't actually done the crochet for the sleeves, I just did a very simple I-cord bind off. So it didn't quite end up the birthday jumper that I had hoped for and intended, and that's nothing to do with the design or the book or the pattern. I suspect this is very much down to user error. But, you know, we live and we learn. And yeah, it has given me a lot of insight in how I want to be able to do my crochet patterns, any kind of patterns that include crochet moving forward. So that it was super helpful. In the process of all of this, I did also buy this book here, which was recommended to me by Kathleen at Ginger Twist, 350 plus crochet tips, techniques and trade secrets. So I've been reading up on that, and that's been very helpful too. But again, I couldn't quite make the stitch pickup work. So there's obviously something that I wasn't understanding about that instruction. However, there we go. So that was all my attempts. The jumper is now completed, and I'm pleased with the result. And I was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't make the crochet sleeves happen, but yeah, there we go. The actual book itself, Memory Lane, is really lovely. You know, I've seen for a long time a gap in knitting patterns and crochet patterns, which is kind of refined, sort of elevated knitwear. So knitwear that you might even have as evening wear. I think there's a lot that's kind of focused on like the cozy or the comfortable. Sometimes they've got beautiful colour work and things, but they're not necessarily something that you would wear on an evening out necessarily, like to a lovely dinner or something. And I think this book absolutely fills that gap. For example, these kind of pieces here, or this gorgeous colour work in mohair there, and they've got a lot of embellishments and things on them. That's a bit more simple, but it's got these like pearls added into this, into these stripes across the body. So just all in all, it's just a very beautiful book. So I do recommend it. And yes, it arrived. It arrived after I finished knitting. So yeah, I still need to kind of sit down and have another look through and maybe choose another pattern or two. Okay, last finished object, and this is going to take us to, sorry, I just threw that. I'm going to bump the stand for the iPad that I'm recording on. So I hope that's okay. Last finished object. This is off the needles this week, and it is enormous. Can you see this? This is Extra Texture. It is by Stephen West. I've knitted it in Drops Lima, which is this. Isaiah Alpaca 1 in shade 17, and a strand of this trusty alpaca silk. So I don't have any of the alpaca 1 to show you, because I literally used the entirety of my my amount that I had up, but I'll just hold it up so you can see kind of the variation that the marling has created, which I'm really pleased about. Such an interesting construction, because you're knitting the neckband and then you're knitting these cable strips down either shoulder, and then you're filling in with your knitting to kind of create the V at the front, and then knitting down, then knitting down to the point where you would have your sleeves, and then you're doing the same on the back and knitting down and then joining in the round, finishing off with your twisted rib that reflects the twisted rib in the neckband, and then you're picking up for your sleeves. You're continuing the cable down to the cuff, and the rest of it is all twisted rib with a 3-inch twisted rib cuff. So it's quite a broad, it's a broad cuff. It's a, well, it's a very broad knit. I don't know how many balls of yarn I've used in this, but what I will tell you is that it's very, very, very heavy. I'll show you a photograph just now of what it looks like on. I am so in love with this. I really wanted an oversized cable jumper, and this is the oversized cable jumper of my dreams. Maybe I'll just pop it on just now so you can get a little bit of a sense of what it looks like, because it is massive. I mean, like, look, that's the body. So it's cozy and it's warm and it's lovely. I'd actually used this yarn before to make a pair of slip stitch, is it called slip stitch rib hand warmers from Pearl Soho. So what I really like is that I can wear these with this. So I've got kind of this kind of narrow, close fitting knit, and then this much wider, much more positive ease knit over the top. I really like the neckband. I think the shaping of it is beautiful. I love this. I love the cables that are going down the sleeves. Since it dried, I was really concerned I wasn't going to get it dry, because it is so heavy, and actually after finishing it my arms were a little bit sore, because obviously I was having to heft around so much yarn around my needles. But yeah, finished it off, popped it in the bath because it wouldn't fit in the sink, and I let it soak for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then I took it out. And as I went to take it out, I then got a sense of just how incredibly heavy this sweater is when it's also containing water. So it was very heavy, and because it's so thick and chunky, I then really struggled to get my hands around it to like squeeze it out. So I ended up squeezing out as much as I possibly could, and then I laid it on a towel, big bath towel, and then I laid another big bath towel over the top, and then I rolled it up, so like a double towel. And then I stomped along the full length of it to try and get as much water out as possible. I put both those big bath towels straight into the washing machine, and then put another big bath towel out, and then put the jumper, I laid jumper on top again, rolled it up for one last go. So by that point, I really had managed to get rid of quite a lot of the water, but it was still super heavy. So I threaded my broomstick through the sleeves and the body, and I balanced the jumper over a radiator in the bedroom. And that must have been maybe in early afternoon. Our heating clicks on in the evening for a few hours, and again in the morning. And because I closed the curtains, because it was getting dark so early, it kind of creates like a little sort of hot pocket in there. So actually when I went to check it the next morning, I was absolutely astonished that it was dry. I was genuinely thinking that this was not going to be dry until, I don't know, like next spring. But at which point I wouldn't be able to wear it. So I'm really, really pleased that it's finished, it's off the needles. And as the weather continues to get colder here, I now have this incredible, super cozy jumper to wrap myself up in. So really pleased with that. I'm going to take it off just now because 2 jumpers is a little bit excessive. Not quite at 2 jumper stage yet. So yeah, that was Stephen West's Extra Texture. I actually decided I wanted to knit this because I had seen Jackie Rosie's Extra Texture when I went over and visited her in 2023. And I really loved kind of the oversized look of it, and this gorgeous cable pattern. And I know there's a lot of people knitting cable jumpers just now. It's kind of the season for it, But I haven't seen many people knitting this one, and it felt really different, and yeah, I really liked it. The twisted rib is actually not too bad because it's only twisting through the knit stitches, not the purl stitches. So that pretty much just feels like ordinary ribbing. It doesn't feel like it. Whereas when you have to like purl through the back loop, that I find that really awkward and takes a lot longer. But just knitting through the back loop was fine. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say about that. It's massive, and yeah, I'm really pleased with it. That is all of my FOs, and we're an hour in. Okay, so do you want to see the whips? Will I show you those too? Let's see if we can whip through them. I'm just going to pop these down on the floor. There we go, rather unceremoniously. And I will pick them up later. It's always a bit chaotic at the end of a podcast. You have to spend some time picking everything up and putting everything away, but it's worth it. So, current whips, what do we have? The thing that I've just cast on, but which is getting like the most attention, and I'm only sharing this with you because I know that my husband does not watch my podcast, is a vest for him for his Christmas. Now, he had requested a vest like ages and ages ago, and I had knitted one, you might remember it. It was My Favourite Things Knitwear Vest 4. I knitted it using woolly knit in pine green, and I had modified it to add in a little top pocket that he uses to keep his glasses in when he's in his office, and then he also will use it to keep his like his card for the bus, for paying for buses or things, or to get into, or his key card for getting into doors. So it's quite a handy little pocket. He did actually want more pockets. He wanted like another pocket on the other side and 2 more pockets down the bottom, and I refused because I told him it was a piece of knitwear, not a utility jacket. But he's very knitworthy, and he wears this vest all the time, like just all the time. It is his most worn piece of knitwear, and so I don't have it to show you because he's wearing it, but he has been requesting another. And actually, when we went to New Lanark back in April with Jackie Rose and Ivana from the Republic of Me, we went to New Lanark and picked up some yarn for him so that he would have another vest. Have I knitted the other vest? No, I haven't. Am I knitting it now? Yes, I am. However, he still thinks that I've not cast it on. So I'm still getting those jibes of when am I getting my vest? And he's going to get it on Christmas. And so I'm really looking forward to surprising him with it. But it's just ecru yarn, natural coloured, New Lanark DK. Sorry, I'm getting husky again. I'm out of practice. I haven't spoken this long for a long time. There we go. Yes, this is the yarn here. You can see New Lanark on the ball band and their logo there. It's their DK pure new wool, and it is 240 grams to 100 meters, so pretty much a true DK. I have knitted the back, and I have knitted one of the fronts. I will be picking up to knit the other front, and at that point I will have to improvise this another pocket on the front, because well, I want them to be happy with it. I do. I will only knit the one pocket though. I'll only do the one pocket, particularly if I want them to have it ready for Christmas. So yes, basically all I'm going to do for the pocket is kind of get to the point where I want to put the pocket and at that point I'm going to cast off a number of stitches, and then on my next pass I'm going to cast on the next number of stitches. It's just kind of going to create like a gap in the knitting, and I will then when I go back knit that section, that small section of cast off stitches to create the backing for the pocket and sew it down. So I think that's how I did it before. If I get a chance to have a look at how I did it before, or maybe I shared that on the podcast. Maybe I should go back and watch my own podcast and remember how I did it. But that's coming up. That's the next section. I knitted the first front there yesterday evening, so it's not taking me very long to knit, which is good because, like I said, I want it to be done for Christmas. It's actually in my Woolly Good shopper, my tote bag, and it's been hiding during the day, or during the evening. It's not been hiding during the day, but it's been hiding during the evening when he gets home, so he doesn't know what's happening. The Woolly Good Gathering have actually just announced that they have a new venue for next year. It's going to be in April, and it's going to be at Central Hall, which is just in Tollcross in Edinburgh. It is a smaller venue than Summer Hall, but Summer Hall unfortunately have encountered major financial problems, and it looks like nothing is happening there at all at the moment. I think they're in various different legal disputes over tax and that kind of thing. So that's what's going on with Summer Hall, which is really such a shame, particularly for all of the artists and craftspeople and all the staff and all the artists that I think are still waiting for money from them. And so that's, the Woolly Good Gathering couldn't happen at Summer Hall. And so instead it's moved to Central Hall. So I'll be really interested to see how they're planning to stage that and all the things that they've got planned. So that's quite exciting. So yeah, Woolly Good Gathering bag there. Now, what else do I have? Soho Square. Yeah, I've cast on another Soho Square. I'm following on from New Lanark, because that's another big piece of news that we've got in kind of the Scottish knitting community. And it's very sad news, which is that New Lanark have ceased trading for the yarn component of their business. So they're a charity, but they were a functioning mill, and they sold the yarn that they made there, and they would be at various different yarn festivals. For example, at the Scottish Wool Producers Showcase, which has also announced a new venue for March, which is very exciting. And they've also, Eva, who's the organiser behind the Scottish Wool Producers Showcase, is also the organiser of the Scottish Yarn Festival, and that's also got a new venue, both in Perth. So that's incredibly exciting. Really looking forward to going to some of these events next year. But anyway, yes, they would vend at various different festivals. They had an online shop. Some of the local yarn shops purchased wholesale from them as well. And unfortunately, they've announced that due to low visitor numbers, they are not going to be producing the yarn anymore. And it all sounds very odd, to be honest. I'm not quite sure what's happened there or why that particular decision has been made, but it's really very sad that one of the very few working mills in Scotland is closing or has closed. I am very fortunate in that I have this beautiful skein of dark graphite yarn. You can see it's a tweedy one here. It's kind of like got smoky blue and like a little pop of amber as well. So I decided that not only was I going to knit with my beautiful New Lanark yarn for Frank's vest, but I was also going to knit myself a Soho Square. And yes, I'm knitting it in black in December as we approach the winter solstice. However, it is all garter, so it's not actually something that I need to look at while I'm knitting, so that's certainly helping. I'm doing this Soho Square a little bit differently. Now, the Soho Square is a beautiful pattern by Jackie Rose, I have knitted 2. In fact, this is 1 here, and you can see that it's got these stripes in it. So instead of knitting these stripes, what I want to do is knit this row here, this one here, and this row here in a different yarn, in this boucle, lace weight boucle. I might even double it up, which is a yarn from Hedgehog Fibres that I picked up from the bargain bin in Stephen and Penelope when I was there, I think back in 2019. So I'm going to hold that double, and that's going to form a stripe. So basically my idea is that I'm going to do 1 row each time you would do the colour change, and then go back to the black, and then bring in a thin stripe, and then back to the black, and then a thin stripe, and then the rest of it will be black. And then when I go and pick up all of my stitches and resolve all of my short rows, again I'm going to do that in this yarn here. And then my other half is going to be again in the black, again with this as my thin stripes, because I want it, maybe this isn't going to work, I don't know, but in my head this is how it looks. As it will look like, it'll look almost like a leaf, you know, with your center spine, and then the lines coming off it, the veins coming off it. So that's going to be I think it will be incredibly wearable, and I think it will be a lovely tribute and way to use this beautiful New Lanark yarn. My Auntie Vaughan actually bought this for me for my birthday a couple of years ago, from the Scottish Yarn Festival. So yes, I think it'll be a really lovely way to use that yarn. I do actually have another sweater quantity of New Lanark yarn, DK, in kind of a blue tweed, which I had been intending to knit an Andrea Mowry nurtured sweater, because I already have one knitted in cotton, Drops Bell cotton, but I was thinking it would be nice to have a slightly heavier weight woolly version as well. So I may still do that with that, but that'll be the last of the New Lanark yarn in my stash. Ginger Twist Studio does have a large quantity of New Lanark Chunky, so if you are on the lookout for any New Lanark yarn in the chunky weight, that's where I know you can get it from. But other than that, I think we're just down to, you know, whoever still stocks it and might have some, might still have some on the shelves. So like I said, that's all very sad, but yeah, I'm excited to be able to use what I have in such an intentional way, and for it to become such a wearable piece. Okay, another cast on was this one here. Haven't done very much of this. This is just, again, very simple knitting for me. This is actually a second sample of the Birl shawl. I'm using Samilla Pura, which is kind of a sport weight yarn, and I have purchased some Samilla Melange, which again is a sport weight in black, because this is going to be a 2-colour version, where the body of the shawl is knitted in this neutral, in this natural shade, and then my fringing is all going to be in the black. So that's the plan for that. It's exactly the same pattern. It just gave me an opportunity really to get very clear on the pattern instructions. So I'm kind of, this is almost like my own sort of test knit for that. Should say that my bags, unless mentioned, are almost always the Cocoon Tree. There you go. The Cocoon Tree, which is my auntie's project bag company. This is a lovely one for Christmas, I always think. A lovely red velvet one. So that's another shawl. In fact, everything else I've got on the needles is shawls. These next two, however, have not had any work done on them for a while, but I'm sharing them with you very quickly just now because I want to get these two finished. So So I'm going to be putting a little bit more effort into getting them done. You might remember this. This is my Fantastitch. I've knitted, this will be my third Fantastitch. Fantastitch. I can never say that word. It's like worsted. I'm using a variety of different yarns here. I think this is Debonair. I think this is, oh my goodness, I can't remember what any of them are called anymore. The Urban Pearl. That's the Urban Pearl. That's Le Petit Pont Paris, Parisienne, I think. Yep. And I think the purple is Debonair yarns. Yep, Debonair. And then I've got a variety of yarns here. This is Knitting for Olive in the colourway Unicorn. This is Mohair de Ferme de France, which doesn't have a colourway name, but it's very dark purple. And then I have a couple of yarns which were part of a Ching Fibre club a couple of years ago, and I requested my yarn to come as mohair. So these are two from that club collection. I'm using this little thing here that my mum gave me just to try and keep track of my colours, so I know which one's which. A, B, C, D, E, F. I think there's also G, but I've obviously not had to add that one, and it's just the leftover one, the one that doesn't have another. So there we go. That's my colours for that. I've still got a long way to go with this, but I do really want it. So I'm going to turn to that shortly. And then the other thing that I am currently wanting to restart, and you might remember this from back in January, February, but this is the Fairy Wrap, which again is another one of my inventions. And it's quite long. I've already done quite a lot on it. I probably don't have that much more to go on it, to be honest. And this is using River Knits minis in the Jewel Rainbow and the Shadow Rainbow colourways. And this is my advent that my mum gave me last year. So I've just been kind of choosing my skeins at random, and you can see it's kind of a combination of garter and brioche. My idea was that I wanted to allow the two colours to play with one another and to get then an opportunity to shine on them on their own. And that's why I called it the Fairy Wrap, because fairy is a old Scots word for friend. So you know, these minis are friends. They get to play together. And then the garter sections, not only get to allow that particular colour to have its moment, but which, you know, I think all friends allow each other to have their moment in the sun, don't they? After you've knitted the brioche, and when you start on the garter stitch and then you start in the next brioche section, if you make a mistake in that brioche section, you can always rip it back to the garter and it'll be easier to pick it up. So I thought this would actually be quite a good an easy garter, an easy brioche beginner's pattern. You're doing some, there you go, on the wrong side. You're doing some increases and decreases to kind of create the bias. But like I said, you are ensuring that you've got a little bit of a break here, a garter break, so if you did need to take it back because you'd made a mistake, or then you'd be able to do that. So I have some more skeins to go, so just find some more. So I do have quite a few more skeins. There's some more in here as well. I'm just going to keep going until it's all done. It's going to create a really long scarf, essentially. But but I'm excited about that. I think it'll be great. My only problem is that I had a look at my notes, and I don't know what was going on with me last January, but my notes are horrendous. And I've kind of gone over it, and I think along with my knitting, and I've kind of figured out what needs to happen. So I think I'm good to go and get started with that again. So that's all my whips, but I wanted to show and share with you something which is going to be next on my needles. And maybe I shouldn't be thinking about what's next on my needles while I'm still so busy with all of this, but this is part of a birthday present that I was very lucky to receive from my parents this year. And it's a kit from Alice Starmore to make the Lapwing collar. Look at the back. How incredible is that? This is actually the pattern. So I won't show you the pattern because that would be rude. but yes, it's beautifully printed off on card. And then my box arrived, and it came very quickly because it came from Glasgow, and Glasgow is not that far away from Edinburgh. And I got to choose my colours. So, I mean, they do have kits where you can buy the exact colours, and they've got, I think, about 3 different options. But I decided to build my own kit, which took me a lot longer than I expected. But I did get there. And basically what I did was I took screenshots of the various different colours that they have available, and then looked to see what colours had been used in the kits, you know, so I get a sense of contrast and of values, and what needed to be a pop and what needed to be more low contrast, etc., etc. So I analysed that, and then I started putting together various different combinations, and it took me a long time, but I finally landed on what I'm really, really happy about. So let me show you what I have. So this part here, where it's this kind of like bronzy shade, that's going to be this beautiful shade of red, which is called Red Rattle. And then this kind of piney green which is most of the feathers, is going to be this yarn here. And I've got quite a lot of that because there's so much of that. And that's called Erica. So it's going to start with the collar, and then it's going to go into these longer feathers, and then you have this section here, you know, and there's like 4 colours here, and these 4 colours are also picked up in the collar as well, in the neckband. And so basically I've gone for a bit of a fade, actually. Let me show you. This is, and see if I can show you the colours, because I know that I am losing the light. So this is like a really deep kind of purpley shade, which I think is called Limpet. Yep. And then I've got this one here, which is called Selkie. How could I not choose Selkie? It's actually, can you see that? It's this gorgeous, incredibly heathered, but very dark shade. You can see how the two go really beautifully together. And then after that, I've got this colour here called Kaluna, which is more of like a dark, it picks up this kind of dark green that's in the Selkie. And then I had a high contrast pop and added in this kind of icy jade colour, which is called Kitty Week. So those colours are going to be these longer feathers, and some of them include adding in this one as well. So basically this is my colours for making my Lapwing collar. It's spectacular. I cannot wait to cast it on, and this is my planned cast on for Boxing Day. Now I know some people like to cast on things on Christmas Eve. That's not really a great time for me to cast things on. I have I've been sharing already how incredibly busy things have been, but with the My Word Goddess readings, December is absolutely my busiest month. And so I don't have time to do a cast on Christmas Eve, because at that point I'm probably still wrapping presents and prepping the dinner for the next day. But the week between Christmas and New Year, Betwixtmas, is the time where I love to sit and rewatch the extended edition of The Hobbit. And then the first week of January, I like to watch the extended edition of Lord of the Rings. Now, in and amongst all of this, I am still doing the My Word readings. There will still be events and things to do and responsibilities and etc, etc. But there is a little bit more time just to sit and come back to myself, which I think is incredibly important. And during that time, I want to knit myself this Lapwing collar. So you're basically, from what I can tell, you're basically knitting all of these individual feathers. But the great thing about this kit is that it comes with a video class. So I'll be sitting and watching the video class first, and then I will be casting that on. So that was my lovely gift from my mum and dad. And yeah, really looking forward to casting that on and getting going with it. This brings me to the new to me section. So we're at 1 hour and 25. I think we're cracking on here. We've got through quite a lot. We've got a little bit more quite a lot of is new to me since we last spoke. But anyway, one of the things that is new to me is this. I got my passport renewed. So my last passport was due to run out in 2025, just to make sure that it was all set and I was good to go. I got it renewed. It came through really, really quickly. I put in the application on a Tuesday, and by the Friday I had my new passport. So it was super fast. And the reason why I have renewed my passport is because I will be going to Vogue Knitting Live in January. I think we leave on the 15th of January. And we head home on the 20th. So we're going to New York. I'm saying we because it's my mum and I. We're going to celebrate my mum's birthday. We actually celebrated my mum's birthday in New York when I was 16. So it's a rather nice thing to be returning and celebrating again just a few years later. But we're so excited. We're going all in. We are booked onto classes on the Friday and the Saturday. On the Friday, we're doing the Cocoa Knits sweater workshop with Julie Weisenberger. And on the Saturday, I'm attending a class by Paula Pereira on upcycling your stash, which I'm really excited about. And my mum is going to one run by Celia Campolchiaro about reversible stitch patterns, slip stitch patterns, I think. We're also going to be going to the cocktail reception on the Friday evening and the gala ball on the Saturday night. So we're incredibly excited and really looking forward to it. If you are going, I look forward to seeing you there. and yeah, if you have been before and you have some recommendations, you have some tips, we've got our accommodation all booked, we've got our flights booked, and obviously with the classes booked and things, we don't have a lot of free time in and around. But yeah, if you have any advice, things that how best to enjoy our time at Vogue Knitting Live, then please do leave a comment and let us know. But that's a very exciting piece of news, and for that I needed a passport. So I have that now. Another trip that I have already been on, my trip to Pitlochry, resulted in some new to me yarn. There is a lovely yarn dyer just outside of Moulin, which is where we stayed. We stayed at the Moulin Inn, which is a beautiful old hotel, an inn. that's been there since the Jacobite Rising, so it's been there a long time. And just outside of there, David of Moulin Yarns has a lovely little studio that you can go and purchase his beautiful yarn from. So we walked up from Moulin. It only took us about, I don't know, like a 20-minute walk or something. It didn't take long. And I got this gorgeous yarn here. Now this is the Luxury Silk Yak, and it's 50% silk, 50% yak, and it's in the colourway I Shall Wear Midnight. I think it's 400 meters to 100 grams. So I got two. I thought that would make a beautiful shawl, or maybe a lovely top. Maybe a sort of more evening style top. I don't know. So still thinking about how I want to use this, but it's just glorious, and it was so fun to meet David and to check out his beautiful yarn. And yeah, I realise I'm holding it upside down. There's his logo there, Moulin Yarns. So yes, that was delightful. So that's some new to me yarn. Some more new to me yarn is I've got a advent calendar that I'm currently enjoying. It's by Blue Fern Yarns, which is Sharon, and she advertised this, gosh, much earlier in the year, like April or something. And it's her colourway, her theme was called Apothecary, and this is the kind of mood boards that she was sharing, and I just absolutely loved those. And she was offering it as a yak sock base, which I think is, oh no, I can tell you what it is. It's 70% merino, 20% yak, and 10% nylon. So it's a beautiful base, and I have opened the first 6, and I'm going to share them with you now. So if you don't want to see these, look away, but I'm assuming by the point at which you're probably seeing this, we'll probably be on, I don't know, day 8 or something, so it won't really, you will already have opened these. So here we are. Here's the colours, actually, that's the other way around, like that. So essentially, here out the way, essentially what we're getting here is this beautiful fade. So this was day 1. Day 2, this lovely inky blue, moving into these kind of darker purples. That's really kind of a crossover skein there. And there you go. And then a slightly lighter purple. And then kind of like a darker shade again. So I'm really intrigued to see where this is going. My original intention for this had been that I was going to, when it arrived, I was going to open up all the skeins and I was going to knit up an advent sample of the Korean poncho, because I had seen other people using my design, the Korean poncho, for their beautiful advent yarns, and I loved that, and I thought it was such a good idea that I wanted to do that too, and then I was going to share it with you in a series of videos. It's not happened, so I'm just now enjoying this advent, and maybe I will find time to knit it up as a Korean poncho in January, or January, February, because maybe that's when I'm going to have time to knit with my advent yarns. And maybe you're the same, you know, maybe December is like an incredibly busy time for you and it's not a time of advent knitting. Maybe after everything is kind of settled down a bit and all the festivities are over and we're just kind of in the winter time, which can feel a bit dark and a bit cold and a bit, it's the call to turn inwards. Well, maybe that's the time when you like to work with your advent yarn. So maybe we'll be knitting that together. I don't know. We'll see how the year unfolds. I'm very tentative about putting any plans in place at all, because every time I do, everything seems to go a bit ski-whiff. So we'll see. But there we go. That's my advent calendar that I'm currently enjoying. Drops Charisma. I purchased a yarn, a sweater quantity of Drops Charisma in Petrol Cerise, which is again this lovely heathered shade, sort of teals and purples. Drops Charisma is 100% wool. It's very inexpensive. Charisma is 100 meters to a ball, 50 grams. I've bought, I don't know, I've bought a lot. I think I bought like, I don't know, like 20 balls or something, 18 maybe. Because my intention is to do another big cable knit. However, I'm not sure I'm going to cast that on just yet. I think my arms need time to recover. But this was on sale when I purchased it, and I think I got it for like £1.20 a ball or something. Drops is a very affordable option, I think, particularly when we're knitting these heavier weight garments, because, you know, they do eat up a lot of yarn and it can get very expensive very quickly. And yeah, so Drops for me, perhaps even held with some, you know, more expensive, lovely lace weight even, just gives me a way of making it affordable to even knit these. The cable jumper that I had my eye on is actually in Texture by Erica Knight, which is another it's another book that I've purchased. Let me find, my mum actually has this book and has knitted a beautiful cardigan from it that I've worn when I've visited her. Let me see if I can find it. That's the back of it there. This one here. It's got these incredible kind of little swatches of colour work. And it's actually just such a lovely shape, and it sits really nicely. This is it here. So yes, that jumper is called, that cardigan is called Salutation. But the one that I was thinking I would like to knit using my Drops Charisma yarn is this one here, and it's called Tangled. And it's like got an asymmetric hem at the front. I'm a little bit frustrated with the images of this because she's got her hair in front of the jumper, so I can't see the jumper as well as I would like. But and the same with the other main image. Her hair again is over the front, but the back, I think, is this cable pattern here, and the front is this larger cable. You can kind of see it here, this in the schematic. Erica Knight has knitted that in cotton. I think cotton's quite a strange choice for a large, heavy cable jumper. I think it would just start to stretch quite significantly, so I already knew I wasn't going to knit it using that, but I am intrigued to see if I could knit it using the wool. But like I said, that's not a current project. It might even be a next winter project. We'll wait and see. Maybe I'll just enjoy one oversized cable jumper for just now. More new to me yarn, and actually this wasn't purchased and it wasn't a gift. It was, I won a giveaway, which, you know, you do these giveaways, you enter into these giveaways on Instagram, and I don't know about you, but I don't tend to win these things. So it's an absolute shock when you do, and somebody gets in touch with you and you're like, you have won the giveaway. So I won a giveaway from a yarn story, which is a wonderful shop down in Bath, which is owned by Carmen. You should absolutely go and check out her podcast. It's excellent. It's one of my favourites. I really enjoy it. And she has a yarn line called Walcott Yarns, and it has two different blends and bases. And the base that I got was, I was given 5 skeins of my choice, and I chose Opus, which is the sport weight yarn. So it's 350 meters to 100 grams. The blend is Argentinian Merino, 70%, 30% baby alpaca, 100% awesome. And I got it in the splashed white, which is actually more of a cream. I kind of thought it was going to be kind of more of a winter white, but it's actually a much softer white than that, but I'm still delighted with it. So I got 5 skeins of this, which is incredible. And I've decided that I'm going to be using another one of my books. This was given to me for my birthday quite a few years ago by my best friend Jen. And it's Glamoury by Alice Starmore. And it has all of these incredible kind of like fantasy costumes that have been knitted. That's a sea anemone. That's the Lapwing, from which the collar was then extrapolated from for the kit that I have. And what I want to knit with my Opus yarn is this. This is the Raven cardigan, and they have this version that's in white with this amazing kind of feather statement collar. And I just absolutely love this. And I've loved it for so long. And I checked the yarn weight with the specifications, and I think it's going to be the perfect substitution. So, very excited, and it was an incredible thing. Weirdly enough, since then, I have actually won another giveaway, both in my birthday month, so that was rather lovely. I won a giveaway from Holst Garn. You know how much I love Holst Super Soft, so and what I've won from them is 2 skeins of their Highland sock yarn, which I chose the colour Purple Touch, which is a lovely variegated purple, and a new wooden table swift. So that's not arrived yet. I will share that with you when it arrives, but I got notification that it was from the postal service that it was on its way, so that's very exciting. So I've won 2 giveaways this past month, and yeah, the Opus yarn was one of those. So this is incredibly soft, my loves. Oh my goodness, this is going to be such a fun knit. I am thinking of this cardigan very much, not so much as the Raven cardigan, but as the Swan cardigan. This is the swan that sits beside me on my bedside table. This is Odette. Isn't she beautiful? I've got such a thing for swans, so I think a swan cardigan in 2025 would be just spectacular. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, and then I had some birthday gifts, because obviously it was my birthday. I turned 46. Yes, 46. And yeah, so I got some really nice things. I got a beautiful bag from my daughter, from Aurora, that her partner Sam's mum is an amazing seamstress, and she made this beautiful bag for me so that I would be able to knit on the go. And Aurora chose the yarn, the material, the fabric. So that's very lovely. So I got that. I got a beautiful book of poetry from my husband called The Keeley Hawk, which is poems in Scots, and it's by Kathleen Jamie. And I was looking at it again. I keep coming across this same poem, which I just love, and it's called Wren Sang. Frae a breast or sma to hod it, Wren Sang glisters and you stap. Ach, when did your ain heart, deep haint in its bramble buss, lest ken sick ardour? Again the wren sang scales, you peer into thon jaggy maze. Aye, years. And then it's got the English translation, so from a breast too small to hold it, wren song glitters, and you stop. Oh, when did your own heart, deeply protected in a bramble bush, last know such ardour? Again, the wren song spills. You peer into that jagged maze. Yes, years. So, the Keeley Hawk. So that was a lovely gift. I got this gorgeous deck of cards from Jackie Rose. Black Moon astrology cards, and I've been kind of exploring integrating them into my own astrology practice. I am a practicing astrologer. It's the main thing that I do for my work, for my job. And so I've been kind of exploring a little bit more about how to work with these. So that's been a lot of fun. And I got some lovely yarn too. I got this skein of Stranded Dye Works yarn. It's a one of a kind, and it feels like suri. Yes, it's baby suri alpaca and silk. And this is from my lovely friend Raya, which was such a lovely surprise. Jude from Stranded Dye Works is no longer a dyeing yarn, but has a wonderful podcast where he is renovating his beautiful new place up in Aberdeenshire. So you can check that out. I'll include a link in the box below. And then I received this beautiful gift from Alexandra. Thank you so much, Alexandra. Oh, it's such a lovely thing. So I got this beautiful star map little notebook, and a lovely, oh dear, where is it? It's in here somewhere. It's gone into the corner. I got a little stitch marker, which I will show you later. it's in there. And this gorgeous skein of yarn, which is from a brand called Pearl and Poem. Botanical colour hand dyed by Open Studio 79. It's kid silk mohair, and the poetic name is A Window to the Light. It is absolutely stunning. So that was an incredible gift. What a lovely thing to arrive in the post. And I do have the little, oh there it is. There's my little stitch marker. Can you see this? Beautiful. So that was such a lovely gift too. So thank you so much for that, Alexandra. And even my little project bag has a lovely star on it there too. And then yes, the other birthday gift that I wanted to show you was this incredible tarot deck that my friend Jen gave me for my birthday this year. Actually, I think for both Frank and my birthday, because we both love tarot. This is the reissue of the Dali tarot, which features Dali and his wife Gala Dali. It's got this incredible book that's got all of the illustrations and the text, and then we have this gold deck of tarot cards. It's just incredibly precious. So there's the man himself, the magician, and there's, I imagine, Gala herself as the High Priestess. So it's just such a stunning deck. I mean, like, every single card is just, it's all just a beautiful piece of art. But also one that's, one that you can work with and use. So yes, that was another lovely gift that I wanted to share with you too. So yes, one last purchase. Of course, we're coming up to the end of the year. I like to get some kind of journal or some sort of planner. And this year I decided to treat myself to a planner called The Magic Eye. Now, again, this is not sponsored or anything. This is me choosing off my own volition and purchasing. And so anyway, it arrived. And what I love about this is that it has so many details about moon phases and transits and all kinds of astrological timed information for the year. As part of the My Word Goddess readings this year, I am including a list of significant dates derived from astrology, from my ephemeris, where I have basically mapped the goddess asteroid that correlates to your goddess guide to those moments where she conjuncts the moon or the sun, or performs a retrograde, or enters into a new sign. I explain all of that in a lot of detail in the guide. So there's been a lot of writing, and there's a lot of an astrological emphasis really in the goddess guides this time round as kind of the special extra that's included. But yeah, I am wanting to now take all of those dates that I have worked out and plot them into my planner and see how they correlate with the other transits that are occurring of the big planets. And then I would like this to be like a main point of focus for me moving forward into 2025. So that's really then bringing me into what's been bringing me joy, because one of the big pieces of work this past few months has been working on the preparation module for my Faculty of Astrological Studies certification. And that has been a lot of work on top of all of the other things that have had to happen. And at a certain point, I actually decided, or I just kind of gave up on the idea that I was going to be able to complete it. However, I did manage to complete it, and I submitted a 4,000 word report last weekend. So I'm feeling hugely achieved in that. And in 2025, I'm hoping to sit that exam. So my work, my astrological studies and work, and my work with asteroids and archetypes is really kind of deepening in really lovely and interesting ways. And I'm really excited to lean into that more in 2025. There will, of course, still be knitting, because there's always knitting. But yeah, so that's what's bringing me a lot of joy. So this is my new planner that I'm going to be using in order to kind of plot out some posts and some offerings and things for the coming year. All of that kind of information will be shared over on my Patreon. So if you're interested, then you should go and sign up over there, or you can also sign up to my newsletter as well, and I'll send out information there too. So yes, bring me joy. Completed my astrology module. We had our trip to Glasgow to celebrate our birthdays. We found a place that sold gluten-free fish and chips, which was delicious. It's not something you tend to find on many menus at fish and chip restaurants or takeaways. So that was a delight. And we went to the Nick Cave concert that was there. We had originally bought tickets back in 2019 to see Nick Cave, but his concert then in 2020, of course, was cancelled. And then when I saw that he had rescheduled for this year, I decided to get tickets for my husband's birthday. So we went through for that, ostensibly, and we stayed in the hotel just next door to the Glasgow Hydro, which was lovely, but also a bit strange because they were hosting the 90th Interpol conference, so it was full of lots of very tall policemen from various different places in the country and in the world. And actually, on the day that we left, Keir Starmer turned up. Our Prime Minister turned up to deliver a speech. So it was all happening. But the concert itself was like a spiritual experience, I have to say. I found it incredibly moving. I cried. I sang along. It was, just very beautiful and very moving experience. So we did that, and we also saw a great movie at the Glasgow Film Theatre, the GFT, which was called Anora, which won the Cannes Film Festival award this past year, and we really enjoyed that. It was really excellent. It was kind of being described as a more sort of realistic Pretty Woman, which I think is kind of an interesting way to kind of describe it. But yeah, we watched that at the GFT and really enjoyed that too. So it was a lovely trip, and we had a lovely Sunday dinner with my youngest son who lives in Glasgow, and we went to the Scotch Malt Whisky Society in Glasgow in Bath Street, and had a Sunday lunch with him. So before we came home. So it was a really lovely time. We really enjoyed ourselves. Another thing that brought me joy was I got to go and watch my dad give a talk at I think it was the centenary of the Faculty of Homeopathic, the Faculty of Homeopathy at Surgeons' Hall in Edinburgh. And like I said, it was the 100th Congress, and he was invited to do the opening talk. And so my brother and I were given special dispensation to be able to go along and watch him. And my dad is such a wonderful public speaker, and he has such a broad depth of knowing, and he has an incredibly curious mind, so he's always exploring more, and he's always looking at the world and relating it to these bigger pictures, these larger frameworks of meaning. And so his talk was incredible, and it used lots of his beautiful photography, and it was very moving, and just, yeah, it was just really very special to see him in his element. I will pop his blog into and some of his book links into my description box also, so you can follow up there too. Movie wise, my middle son Seb and my husband and I went to see The Wild Robot, which is an animated movie. I think the main character is voiced by Lupita Nyong'o, and it had lots of famous people in it. Bill Nighy was in it as well. Gosh, I can't remember all the other people, but there's a long list of very recognisable names in the cast. We absolutely loved it. It was really, really lovely. Although I would say that it had one of the most direct metaphors of empty nest and of your children flying off into the world that I have seen possibly ever. And I was properly doing, I was really sobbing. I was trying not to do the kind of very loud sobbing. The very first time I ever went to the cinema, my parents took me when I was very little. We went to see The Fox and the Hound. I don't know if you've ever seen The Fox and the Hound, but it's sad too. and yeah, they had to take me out because I was crying so hard, or so loudly. So I was trying not to cry loudly in The Wild Robot, but it certainly tugged on my heartstrings. So, but it was a really nice movie. I really enjoyed it. On TV, we've just been going for really kind of gentle things. I think there's that genre. I think it's called cozy murder, where basically like it's more about a puzzle and trying to figure out the whodunit. So it's not the kind of the grisly hard edge, really kind of brutal kind of more crime movies or crime TV. This is the much more gentler brand of that. So we've been watching Return to Paradise. I really love Death in Paradise. Death in Paradise basically got us through a lot of one of the lockdowns anyway. We just kind of imagined ourselves in the Caribbean with our rum punches. But they have now brought out a kind of a spin-off, and it's called Return to Paradise, and it's based in Australia. And so we've been watching that. I think there's 6 episodes altogether. I think we've got 1 episode left to watch. So we've been really enjoying that. And we also watched Ludwig, which was, we're really, really enjoying that. Is it David Miller? David? No, that's not right. I can't remember it. I can see his face and I can't remember his name. Anyway, basically, he plays a guy who is a guy who writes puzzles and comes up with puzzles, and he has a pseudonym of Ludwig. And he also has a twin brother, and his twin brother is in the police force, but he goes missing, and so his sister-in-law gets in touch with him and asks him if he would come and stand and fill in and pretend to be his brother, and to kind of figure out what's happened to him. However, when he gets into the police station, there's been a murder, and all of a sudden he's kind of thrown into the mix, and it turns out he's actually really good because, of course, he's got one of these minds that can figure out puzzles. So yeah, we really enjoyed Ludwig. We finished that, but I think it has been commissioned for a second season. And both those shows were on the BBC, but I don't know where they would be screened elsewhere. The other thing I've been watching on the BBC is Stanley Tucci's Searching for Italy. I think this came out a wee while ago. I'm probably getting to this quite late. There was 2 seasons, and then I think it was cancelled, which is such a shame because I would just watch one season of this after another, after another, after another. I find Stanley Tucci a very amiable and warm host, and I loved seeing all of the different regions in Italy and seeing their food specialities and a little bit of the history and the culture, and it was just, I feel like I've been on holiday. So yeah, I highly recommend that. I think there's been a Searching for Mexico with Eva Longorio, so I might start watching that because I think that's also on the BBC, so maybe I'll watch that too. Well, my goodness, my loves, that's us at 2 hours. I have spoken for 2 hours. Oh my goodness. And now I'm going to finish up with a piece from, I'll see if I can find it. It's from Ask Baba Yaga. I did have it all found, all sort of laid out and everything. We were all sorted with it. And now, well, there we go. It's on page 100, and then the page got lost. But I thought this was rather appropriate, seeing as I hadn't posted for a wee while. I hadn't recorded for a while. The question is, how do I get back on the horse? Dear Baba Yaga, I have always considered myself relatively ambitious and a very hard worker, but lately have felt my drive to succeed in my field wane precipitously. How do I get back on the horse? Baba Yaga. The horse is off eating drunken crab apples and laughing with its horse friends. You would do well to join these beasts around the fire, for they are beasts after all, and can only do your bidding when they've been properly nourished. See to it that your horse gets its rest and feasting, and do not fret so much in the meantimes, for your being has not changed, and will always wish to keep on riding. So that's Ask Baba Yaga by Taisia Kitaiskaia. I really love these little pieces. So yeah, I thought that wisdom from Baba Yaga was kind of on point. So perhaps I'm wishing your horse, yourself, your being, good feasting, some good rest, and I will record again in the new year. And in the meantime, like I said, the My Word Goddess readings are now available. I would love to connect you to your goddess for 2025 and help you find a word that suits you for the coming year. And yeah, in the meantime, have a wonderful festive season. And yeah, I'll see you in 25.